In section 10.2, we learned that if two lines were parallel, then we could say a lot of things about their angles. We talked about the corresponding angles theorem, alternate interior angles theorem, alternate exterior angles, and consecutive interior angles theorem, where these are congruent, these are congruent, these are congruent, and these two angles add up to 180 degrees. The converse of each of these statements is also true. Now, the converse of a statement takes that statement and flips it around. So it says if these two angles are congruent to each other, then that tells us that these two lines are parallel to each other. So it takes that original theorem, flips it around. And so we can go both ways for these theorems, and we can use that information to answer some questions. So we're going to take a look at a couple of examples. Example number 1 says, find the value of x that makes these two lines parallel to each other, m and n. Well, these are corresponding angles. If they're parallel lines, we know that those two corresponding angles must equal each other in measure. They're congruent to each other. So we can turn that into an equation, say 3x plus 5 equals 65. If we solve that, then we can figure out the value for x. So that gives us 3x equals 60. Finish this out by dividing by 3, and we end up with x equals 20. That is the value that makes both of these 65 degrees. And if they're congruent, then those two lines will end up being parallel. Our next example asks us to determine if two lines are parallel or not in this. So right here we can see we have two angles, these vertical angles that are congruent to each other. And those vertical angles are not ones that relate it to any of these other lines right here. And so vertical angles are not enough to tell if any lines are parallel to each other. So in this diagram over here on the left, we do not know whether or not any of the lines are parallel. There's not enough information. It could be that we take these two lines, for example, and since we don't know anything about the angles, those might be rotated in a different direction than what we had before. So those lines right there could be moved around, and that does that without affecting any of the markings on the angles that are there. And so, again, not enough information. Over here, we do have enough information. These two angles are alternate exterior angles of m and n right here. So if we have congruent alternate exterior angles, we know that those two lines are parallel to each other. Hooray! However, nothing is said about this line and any of its angles right there. So as far as r is concerned, we do not know whether it's parallel or perpendicular or any of that. We just know about these two. So for this diagram, we have enough information to say m and n are parallel, but nothing else. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.